Good morning, welcome to Fairy and Spoil. I want to talk to you today about how I get my dogs to be such good friends. I get asked about it quite a lot. If you don't know me, I've got 3 dogs. Hump's here, we've got Harry at the back, and we've got little Albert here. They all get on really, really well. They're really good friends. But it really wasn't always like that. 2 years ago, we got Humps here, and him and Harry were such bad enemies that I couldn't leave them in the same room on their own together ever. And there was one situation where they had a really bad fight. It was really bad. Honestly, I thought one of them was going to die. It was really bad. And nothing I did was separate them. It was really terrifying. And I just want to go through how we've gone from that. So after that happened, for I don't know exactly how long, but it was a good few weeks. I couldn't let them be in the same room together if I wasn't with them. So it was a real pain in the neck, because if I got up, so supposing like we were here in this situation and I wanted to just pop into the kitchen, I couldn't leave them on their own. One of them would have to come with me. It was a real pain in the neck. Not to mention it's just horrible for them and just not how it was going to be. So let me tell you how I sorted it out. So on the day of the actual fight, it was in the afternoon, and they were fighting over a toy. It was over a toy. Now I just need to emphasize this point. We have no issues at all now. There's no fighting over toys. These two are both dogs that love toys. Albert here don't care about toys, not interested in them. But these two really, really love toys, and so toys were the main problem. Now, I have no issues with anything at all, nothing. And I need to tell you how I've done that. So on the day they had the bad fight, I know not to get in the middle of a dog fight. I would have got very hurt, and that wasn't of any use. I was on my own with them. I needed to make sure that I stayed, I didn't get myself hurt. So eventually I was throwing stuff at them, and eventually they stopped. It sounded so much worse than it actually was, because nobody was even cut. They weren't even, neither of them were even cut. So it sounded so much worse than it was. But I didn't know that no one had been hurt. It sounded to me like they were fighting to the death. It was awful. Anyway, so got them apart. I checked them over, and then I just went into sort of automatic. I didn't decide to do it. I didn't think about it. It was just automatic. So my first thought was I was angry. I was really, really angry. Now, I'm not a shouter. I don't shout. Doesn't matter how angry I am. I'm not a shouty person. And I never shout at my dogs. Unless it is if there was an emergency situation, that I don't know, supposing they were running towards something that was really going to hurt them, then I would probably shout, and they would pick up on that tone and know that it was very important. But I never shout at my animals otherwise. You don't need to. You can get across what you need to get across and achieve what you need to achieve without shouting. So just without even thinking about it, what I did was I put Albert in the kitchen, because the fight was nothing to do with him, but it really scared him. And he ran under the kitchen table, which was heartbreaking to see, because he's never had to experience anything like that in his life. So I actually shut the stair gate into the kitchen so that he was in the kitchen. These two, so where I'm sitting now on the rug, I sat them both down next to each other. And I sat on the sofa where they are, I was sat. And I just went into this sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but I was so angry with them. And I knew that was never, ever, ever happening again. Enough was enough. So up to that point, there had been the odd little niggle, and it was a little bit niggly, but nothing more than that. And what I did was, now this is going to sound woohoo and a bit crazy, and especially with the severity of the situation, but it's what I did. I talked to them. A very stern voice, so they knew that I was mad, but I was very clear. Now, obviously, they didn't understand what I was saying, but they definitely understood the energy of what I was saying. And what I was saying was to them This is never happening again. And with Humps here, so, oh yeah, I need to explain this. So I've had Harry for nearly 8 years, had Albert for 11 years now, and Humps just 2 years. And so these two, Harry at the back and Albert here, have always got on very well. So Albert was 4 when Harry came along, and they just got on very, very well right from the beginning, no issues at all. When Humps came along, Albert was very welcoming, very friendly, very, very happy to have him here. But Harry was not happy to have him here. Harry did not want him here. Humps didn't want Harry to be here. They just hated each other from the beginning. Humps here, he's a rescue dog from Korea. Now, I rescue dogs that have been through extreme trauma. So all 3 of these dogs have come to me with really big behavioural problems, real big problems. Humps is the worst dog I've ever had. He is, when I say the worst dog, I mean as in the behaviour, the abuse that he experienced in Korea in the dog meat trade. He was used as a breeding dog for them, and he was just kept in the most horrendous conditions and beaten, and I won't even go on about it. It's too awful for me to talk about, but really, really badly. So when he came to us, physically, every part of his body was just broken. His brain, his mind was just broken. In 2 years, he is doing so incredibly well. He is the most beautiful, gorgeous, friendly, loving dog. But in the beginning, obviously, he had an awful lot of issues. So he came, and then that's when it all started with him and Harry, and then they had the big fight. So when I talk to them, now I know that you could be listening to this thinking she's gone crazy. Dogs don't know, but they do know. If you talk to them, I think the postman is about to come. Barking could happen. Be warned, barking could happen. So I said to Humps very clearly, you are very welcome here. You are incredibly welcome to come and live in my house. But you absolutely are not allowed to fight with Harry under any circumstances. And I very clearly said to Harry at the back there, you have a wonderful life here. You are lucky. You came here. We sorted you out. We sorted all your emotional problems out, all your health problems out. Don't be so nasty. Let Humps come and live here. Be nice to him. And I was mad as hell. But I stayed very calm. I was very direct. And I made my point. And I was pointing at them. And I was like, this is not happening again. Ever. This is not happening ever again. I was mad. This is not happening again. This is the end of it. This is as far as it goes. I never want to see it. From now on, you two are going to be friends. You are going to share everything. And I don't want to hear another word about it. And they got the message loud and clear. And they were both sat there like, okay, all right, okay. They got the message loud and clear. So that was that. Ever since that day, they have been friends. So after that day, and I'd given them the talk, obviously I wasn't going to take any risks. So like I said, for a while, I can't remember how long it was for, but for a period of time, I never let them be in the same room together on their own. Then as time went on, I was watching them. And, it all turned out great. But I cannot emphasise enough what good friends they are now. And actually, out of the 3 of them, these 2 are the best friends. You will always find them together. They'll always, Harry will tell Humps, like, oh, quick, there's cooking in the kitchen happening. Come on, let's go and see what we can get. And Humps will follow on after him. And they're just really, really good friends. On walks, those 2 are always the ones that are together. They're just very, very good friends. Let me tell you some other things that I do to make sure that all of my dogs get on very well. I'm considerate to each dog's needs. So when Humps came to us, his back legs didn't work. They were like, you couldn't put any weight on them and they were all shaky and they just didn't work. And he was in a lot of pain. So we sorted all that out, sorted his legs out. His legs are great now, no pain. But it meant, because Albert here, my little white one, he has autism. So he doesn't always get things, it takes longer to learn things. So he wouldn't always understand that you can't, if you're going to, supposing you're going to jump up on the sofa like that, that's too close to his tail, and he would have been uncomfortable with it. And for a long time, even when Humps wasn't in any more pain, he still had the memory of how much his back legs used to hurt. So what Humps would do is, if Albert got too close to his back legs, he would growl at him. Now normally I don't accept any growling from in between. I know it's a communication thing, and you have to accept that. But like I said, all of my dogs get on really, really well now, and that's the standard they have to live at. So what I used to do was I used to make sure that, supposing if Humps was there on the sofa, if Albert was going to jump up on the sofa, I'll just put my arm in between to make sure that Albert was far enough away so that he wasn't near Humps's back legs. So I didn't give them any opportunity for there to be any issues. And although that wasn't aggression as such, it was still growling, and I don't tolerate that kind of behaviour. I want this kind of calm, relaxed behaviour, or playful, fun, having fun behaviour, but I don't tolerate any growling or anything. So if anything was happening that would make Humps growl, I'd preempt it and stop it from happening. So I did that a lot with Albert in the beginning. There was a lot of just be careful, just mind his back legs, and he learnt that, oh, you can't go near Hump's back legs, it hurts him, and he was much better with it. But now Humps didn't care, he couldn't care less. There's no issues with his back legs at all, and he couldn't care less. And so anyone can, if one of them jumps too close to his back legs, he doesn't care. So he's absolutely fine with that, no problem at all. I mean, you just saw that. Well, Albert came over, plonked himself next to him. Humps didn't even wake up. So, there was that problem. That problem is sorted. But when there was that problem, I was just very aware of where was the other dog placing himself. And that would go for, like, if you had an older dog or a dog that is sick. Just be aware of, where your other dogs are. Like, even if they've always got on really well, if one of your dogs isn't feeling very well, just make sure that your other dogs are considerate to that dog. Other thing that I've always done, and I think this one is a bit, I know if you've got lots of dogs, it isn't possible to always walk all your dogs together, but I think walking your dogs all together really, really helps them to bond and to become good friends. And so, I'm lucky there's me and my husband, and so we're able to walk all three of the dogs together, and I think that really, really helps. I think walking your dogs together really helps them become friends. The feeding time hasn't ever been a problem for me and these boys, simply because I've always preempted it. So I've done a video about how to feed dogs in a calm way, and I actually record it as I'm doing it. If you go to playlist, go to feeding dogs, it's in there. But I make sure that they're fed as big distance, as far, bigger distance as I can give them. So big, far away. If your kitchen is small, then, feed dogs in different rooms, far, far away. The rule to that is really simple. No one goes near anybody else's bowl until everybody has finished. When everybody is finished, then they can all go to each other's bowls. Not that there's ever anything left in any of the bowls, but they can all go to each other's bowls, and that's fine. But that absolutely cannot happen until everybody has finished. And little Albert over here, he always finishes first. Now he wants to go and have a look at the other people's bowls, but he knows he's not allowed to. He has to stay by his bowl until everybody has finished. And that's a really, really clear rule. And I feed them, I stand in the middle, and everybody knows no one's allowed to go near anybody else's bowl. Anybody pushes their luck, and in that video I'm talking about how he pushed his luck. He went to go forward. Make sure you're standing in the middle so you can stop them. Dogs need to know nobody else is going to come near their food, because that is a very, very that is a time when, if there's ever any aggression, that is a time when it's going to come out, especially for Humps. I mean, he'd been starved to death, the poor thing. Not to death, but he'd been really, really starved, so he could have been very aggressive over food, and he hasn't, bless him. He really hasn't been. He's been absolutely brilliant on that front. So that's another thing that I do. Something else that I do is I make sure that they have time to play together and have fun together. So every afternoon at 2 o'clock, when you've got lots of dogs, you kind of have to have a strict routine. And I'm a real believer in strict routines for dogs. That's another video I've done. I think if you have a strict routine for your dogs will be so much happier. If you go to the playlist, dog behaviour, it's in there. But I make sure that at 2 o'clock I do training with them and playing with them, and I make sure that everybody's involved. Even though, so Humps here, he's really clever. Harry here has got a nose on him. He is so good at sniffing games and tracking things. And my little Albert here, he's got learning difficulties, so he can't do training and stuff like that. But he's still part of it. He's still involved with it. So while I'm doing these training with these two, little Albert here, I still hand him the treats every now and again as if he's done something. So it's all a great big pack. And even though Humps has one kind of training, so I train him to do jobs around the house, Harry has a completely different set of training. He's tracking and all that kind of thing. I still do it all together at the same time. So it's all a big part of a game. The other thing that I did was, when we first had the problem, I needed to make Harry see that Humps being here was a good thing. So I trained Humps to press a bell. You know those bells you get on reception of hotels? I got one of them. I trained Humps to press the bell. Every time he pressed the bell, everybody got a treat. And Harry couldn't understand the pressing the bell. He just couldn't get it. So he was really happy about that, because every time the Humps went and pressed the bell, everybody got a treat. And so it made them work as a team. And that was really important. Something else I do is their sleeping arrangements. So in the beginning, when we had all the problems, they were separated at night time. I couldn't leave them on their own at night time, so they were separated at night time. But now that everybody is friends, I make sure that I get the balance right. So there's enough room and enough beds for them to all sleep together if they want to. And they do. They all sleep practically on top of each other out of choice. But there is loads of room and there are loads of dog beds. So if they didn't want to sleep like that, then they wouldn't have to. So there's 3 of them and there's 6 big dog beds. So, and they're in a big space. So they choose to all pile in together, but I make sure that there's plenty of room. So if anybody wants to get away, they can. Although I've never seen that happen. The other thing is leadership. So many people don't believe in pack and hierarchy and leadership and all of that. All I can tell you is, I live with a pack, and I without question believe the pack exists, and there has to be a leader. And if there isn't a leader, things will go wrong. And so I'm definitely the leader, and I'm not a harsh pack leader by any means. There's no need to be a harsh pack leader. I'm basically their mum, and I organise their day, and I keep structure, and I keep things, where they should be, and things happening and stuff like that. So I'm not a harsh pack leader by any means. I'm their mum. I organise their day, and if anybody's playing up, I'm there to sort it out. So I think being a pack leader is taken so often in different, to a bad context, and it doesn't have to be that. It just means you're their mum and you're in charge of things and you sort things out. And so there's that. They don't ever get bored. I think if dogs are bored and understimulated, I think then you've got to, that if there's any issues, they're going to come out. Hello, my darling. Did you have a lovely sleep? Oh, yeah. So you had a lovely sleep as well. Yeah. So my dogs have got lots of stimulation. They get lots of exercise. There's lots of stuff happening during their day. So they're nice. You see them on my videos. They're asleep most of the time. So they're nice and relaxed, and they're nice and sleepy, and they've got no issues. Keeping an eye on their health, making sure nobody's in pain, nobody's not feeling well, things like that. And I think it's just to be considerate of each dog's needs. So supposing you've got an older dog, and then you bring a puppy in, which I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think a dog once your dog is 5 or 6, you've hit the threat. For me personally, I don't like to bring a puppy in lower than that. After that, I think once dog is 6, that's kind of it. That's the cut off. After that, you shouldn't really bring puppies in. But it's just about being aware. So if you have done that, make sure that your older dog isn't annoyed by the puppy, because that's when, the dog could get annoyed. So just to be considerate. Are you all right, my Humps? Have you had a lovely sleep? It's all okay now, isn't it? Yeah, it's all okay now. You and Harry, you're good friends now, aren't you? You are. Your partner's in crime now. Good friends. And so, yes, just about being considerate with them. But the talking thing, I've done a whole video about that. Go to, I think it's dog behaviour, the playlist dog behaviour, and it's in there. And don't underestimate talking to your dogs, the power of talking to your dogs. Yeah, sure, they don't understand the words, but do not underestimate the power of talking to your dogs and how they understand the energy, because the energy is all you've got. They don't understand. They understand some words, but they don't understand English, do they? Don't understand, or whatever language is your language. They don't understand your language. But what they do absolutely understand is energy, and what energy is coming off you. I've done a video about this as well. They've proven that dogs can smell all the hormones you release, whether you're happy, sad, scared, angry, whatever you are, content, whatever you are. They've proven that dogs can smell all of those hormones. So therefore, your dog knows and when your energy, so what you're thinking produces your energy, and your energy produces your hormones. So they can smell how you're feeling. So they know exactly how you're feeling. So when I was telling them off after the fight, I imagine I had adrenaline. I would have been able to smell cortisol. So they would have known that I was not happy. They would have known that I was stressed. But because I kept my tone firm but calm, they also knew I was calm. And like other times when you talk to them about stuff, so like, as an example, Humps here, he had a really bad time when on bin day, when people used to bring their, you know, we have wheelie bins. He used to have a really bad time with it. He used to get very stressed about it. So I decided just to talk him down and sit him down and talk about it. So I just sat him down and I explained to him that the people are taking the rubbish. If they don't take the rubbish, there's going to be rubbish all over the place. That would be very, very bad. It's very, very good that they come and take our rubbish away, and so that there's no rubbish around. And that's all that's happening. Then people are just going back to get their bins that have been emptied. And I just sat him down and explained it, and it made such a difference. And then on bin days, if he looked a little bit alert, I would just say to him, do you remember we talked about the rubbish? They're just coming to get the rubbish. And it was okay. Obviously, he ain't got a clue what rubbish is. He don't understand bins and rubbish and all of that. But he definitely understood that my tone was reassuring, and I wasn't bothered. I wasn't stressed about it. And he understood that my tone was reassuring. The only way I could really get my tone to be exactly how I wanted it to be was to just explain to him why there was nothing to worry about. It was just somebody collecting the bins. And he absolutely got it. And another example of that was when he first came to us, he'd been here about 3 weeks, so he was still in, you know, a bad way. And we had neighbours, new neighbours move in. The timing could not have been worse. And I just sat him down and I explained to him. I explained to all three of them actually, because, you know, there was a lot of noise and stuff. And they were having building work and stuff going on. I sat them all down and I explained to them new people were moving in. It was going to be noisy. There were going to be trucks coming and all this sort of stuff. And they got it, and they did very, very well with it. And don't underestimate the power of just talking to your dogs and just explaining what's happening. It's really, really powerful. It really has an effect. So I hope there's something amongst that lot. Well, if you've got any dogs who've got issues, or if you've got dogs that are getting on, just to make sure that it stays that way, because I know this could change. And also, I've got 3 male dogs, so that's, you know, a lot of maleness going on amongst them. And it is harder to have 3 male dogs. They're all neutered. They all came to us, you know, they're neutered and stuff. But whether they are, I mean, that's debatable. Some people don't like it, whether you do, whether you don't. But having 3 male dogs together is harder. But it's working. It's working really, really well. But I know there's a risk, and I stay on top of it all, and I keep, you know, in charge of the situation. And you see from my videos, they're very happy and they're very content. If you've got any questions about any of that, don't hesitate to ask me. Or stories, you know, have you got, how I don't know, do you have some girls that aren't getting on? I don't know. What have you done to help them and to make sure that they get on and that things stay like that? Really interested to know in comments. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.